Welcome to Cosmic Eternity Channel. Have you ever left a conversation feeling strangely empty, as if something unseen had drained a part of your peace, though you couldn't explain why? Maybe you brushed it off, thinking it was just exhaustion or a bad day. But what if that moment was something far more spiritual than you realized? What if the unease you felt wasn't yours, but something you absorbed from someone else? If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 5 subtle but powerful signs that you might be dealing with a dark force disguised as a human being, and how to protect your spiritual light from it. Understanding this could change the way you see your relationships, your purpose, and even your inner strength. Imagine someone who appears kind, attentive, even affectionate. They smile, they listen, they encourage you at first. But slowly, without ever raising their voice or making a scene, they begin to dim something inside you. This isn't open hostility, it's a quiet erosion of your spirit. For those who carry a divine calling, people of deep faith, purpose, or inner light, this kind of connection can be especially dangerous. Because what's being sought isn't your time or attention, it's your energy. Let me paint a picture. Think of Anna, a woman whose heart was once calm and full of peace. After spending months close to a friend who always said, "I understand you," she started losing sleep. She doubted her own intuition, lost her motivation to pray, and couldn't explain why she felt constantly tired. There were no arguments, no visible conflicts, yet her spirit felt drained. Stories like Anna's are not rare. Often, the damage doesn't happen in public but in private, in whispered words, subtle manipulations, and emotional patterns that slowly chip away at your strength. In this video, we'll draw the line between someone who's simply toxic and someone who, knowingly or not, acts as a vessel for darker energy. You'll learn how to recognize emotional and spiritual red flags, the sensations, the thoughts, and even the physical cues that tell you something is off. This is not about spreading fear. It's about awareness, giving you spiritual tools, emotional boundaries, and protective practices that can keep your peace intact. We'll look at how these energies infiltrate your life through conditional compliments, sudden crises that only occur when you're vulnerable, or small betrayals that gradually erode your confidence. And most importantly, I'll show you how to take your power back calmly, without panic or revenge, but with firm clarity. By the end of this, you'll understand not only what to look for, but how to respond, how to cleanse your space, guard your heart, and stand strong in your faith. I should warn you though, the third sign is the most deceptive of all. Even spiritually mature people often miss it. So stay with me until the end. Take a breath, open your spirit, and prepare yourself. The truth might feel uncomfortable, but awareness is the first act of self-love and the first line of defense for those chosen to carry light in a dark world. Before we continue, I'll ask for something simple that helps this message reach more people who need it. If what you've heard so far resonates with you, give this video a like, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments. Your story could be exactly what another chosen soul needs to hear today. Let's begin. The first sign that you might be dealing with a human vessel of darkness is the subtle, constant drain of your energy. It's not the same as being tired from a long day or a deep conversation. This is different. It's the sense that no matter how much you rest, pray, or center yourself, something always pulls you downward after being around this person. They rarely enter your life with chaos. They come quietly understanding, sympathetic, sometimes even inspiring. But as time passes, you start to notice a pattern. Every encounter leaves you heavier, sadder, or confused. Maybe you experience headaches, pressure in your chest, or restless nights. These are not coincidences. They are symptoms of spiritual imbalance. The greatest danger for chosen souls is to dismiss these signals, to rationalize them away. It's just stress. It's nothing. But spiritually, something deeper is happening. You are giving light and receiving shadow in return. When you meet someone who nourishes your soul, you leave inspired and at peace. But when you cross paths with a spiritually corrosive presence, no matter how kind their words, you leave diminished. That's not random. It's a pattern, one that reveals itself both in person and from afar. This drain can happen through calls, messages, or even repeated thoughts of the person. Once an emotional or spiritual connection is formed, their energy can touch yours, even from a distance. The key is to observe how you feel after each interaction. Not what they say, but what your body and soul reveal afterward. If your light feels dimmer and your peace feels distant, you've just recognized the first sign. Now the second sign goes deeper. It doesn't attack your energy, but your identity. It targets who you believe you are and the purpose you were given. This strategy is clever because it plants doubt, not fear. These entities won't tell you outright that you're unworthy. They'll disguise it as concern or humility. Are you sure you're ready for this? Don't you think someone else could do it better? At first, it sounds harmless, maybe even caring, but spiritually, it's poison in small doses. I remember a man, let's call him Paul, who felt a calling to lead a prayer group that supported struggling families. He began full of faith, but a friend often said things like, maybe you're taking on too much, or you're trying to do something only pastors do. Over time, those comments took root. Paul stepped down. Later, he realized there was never a valid reason, only a quiet erosion of belief. That's how these forces work. They don't destroy with explosions, but with whispers. They make you question your worth, your strength, your divine connection. And once that foundation is shaken, you become easier to distract and manipulate. If you ever find yourself doubting your value or God's plan after being around someone, take it seriously. It may not be their words you're hearing, but something speaking through them. The third sign is the infiltration that happens when you're most vulnerable, when you're grieving, sick, or weary. These dark presences don't approach the strong. They wait for your exhaustion. Then they come disguised as comfort. They'll offer help, warmth, and understanding. But the goal is never neutral. It's to earn your trust, to become needed, so that when they begin influencing you, you don't recognize it as manipulation. This can come through gentle-sounding advice that goes against your values or invitations that pull you away from your faith. The most dangerous attacks are the ones that look like compassion. Think of a soldier on the battlefield. When he's alert, he's invincible. But when he's thirsty and hurt, anyone who offers water seems like a friend. That's how spiritual predators operate. I've seen strong believers lose their path this way. Not through hatred, but through affection mixed with control. By the time they realized what had happened, their light was dimmed and their purpose buried beneath emotional confusion. So how do you defend yourself when you can't even see the attack coming? By staying disciplined. Keep your spiritual practices alive even when you don't feel like it. Evil doesn't strike at your strength, it waits for your weakness. By now, we've talked about energy drain, seeds of doubt, and infiltration during vulnerability. The fourth sign is even more dangerous: emotional control disguised as affection. This is when the person already holds space in your heart and begins to manipulate your emotions so you feel dependent on them. One day they praise you, the next they withdraw completely. You start craving their approval, wondering what you did wrong, and soon you're walking on eggshells just to keep their peace. That's the essence of demonic manipulation, control through confusion. And for a chosen one, that means distraction from purpose and distortion of truth. I once met a woman whose partner constantly told her, "You're too intense about your faith. Nobody will take you seriously." Slowly, she stopped sharing her beliefs altogether. Silence replaced conviction, and isolation followed. This type of bondage isn't made of chains, but of guilt and fear, a belief that you owe them something because they once helped you. It's one of the most powerful traps because it convinces you to stay. You justify their behavior. You say, they're not always like this. Maybe it's my fault. And that's when the enemy smiles because you've accepted the cage. Finally, the fifth sign, the endless cycle of exhaustion. Once this presence fully embeds itself in your life, it begins creating chaos, then offering comfort from that same chaos. You suffer, they console, you forgive, it repeats. The relief feels real, but it's temporary, just enough to keep you trapped. I saw this happen to a young man, we'll call him Lucas, who led a small faith group. A close friend constantly stirred up drama, then apologized, then did it again. Lucas spent more time managing that friendship than living his purpose. Eventually the group dissolved, and he was left spiritually drained. That's the ultimate goal, not to destroy you all at once, but to wear you down until mediocrity feels normal, until you forget what peace and joy truly feel like. And here's the truth. Darkness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, smiles, and calls itself friend. But if your spirit feels weaker after the encounter, listen to that signal, because your light is sacred, and protecting it is not selfish, it's divine responsibility. Have you ever noticed how certain patterns keep repeating with someone, conversations that always end with your energy drained, your faith shaken, and your life feeling stuck in the same place? The moment you realize it's not coincidence, but a carefully designed pattern, you've already taken the first step toward freedom. Awareness is the light that exposes what was hidden in the dark. Now that you've learned to identify the 5 signs, it's time to understand how to protect yourself and cut off any spiritual influence that seeks to weaken your light. The first and most powerful layer of protection begins with acknowledgement. You can't fight what you refuse to see. Many chosen souls stay vulnerable because they rationalize the pain, calling it just stress or just people being people, when in truth, what's happening is spiritual. Recognizing that there is a real attack takes courage, the kind of courage that allows you to say, this situation isn't nourishing my spirit. I need to act. That moment of awareness already removes part of the enemy's grip. When you call a thing by its name, you break its secrecy. It's like switching on the light in a dark room. You may still be inside it, but now you can see where the obstacles, traps, and exits are. Without that light, you keep stumbling in the dark, repeating the same patterns, unaware that you're being led in circles. To reach that level of awareness, you must learn to observe yourself after every interaction. Notice how your soul feels, not just your thoughts. Ask yourself, did this encounter make me stronger or weaker? Did it bring me peace or restlessness? Your emotional and spiritual reactions are precise instruments for discernment. They reveal who builds you up and who subtly tears you down. And remember, recognizing the source of harm isn't about hate or revenge. It's about wisdom, about choosing your peace over your pain. Once you see clearly what's been happening, the next vital step is to strengthen your spiritual armor. Think of a warrior preparing for battle. Knowledge of the enemy is not enough. Protection must be worn daily. This armor isn't made of steel, it's built through spiritual discipline, consistency, and faith. It protects your mind from lies, your heart from confusion, and your spirit from fatigue. The foundation of this armor is prayer, not mechanical recitation, but real conversation. Speak honestly with your Creator. Share your struggles, fears, and doubts, and allow divine peace to refill your heart. The next layer is the study and meditation of sacred truth. When you know what is real, you easily recognize what is false. God's word renews the mind, clearing out the noise of deception that tries to take root there. Fasting also plays a vital role. It disciplines your body and sharpens your discernment. It teaches your spirit to rely on inner strength instead of external comfort. And equally important, surround yourself with a community that nurtures your growth, people who remind you of who you are when darkness tries to make you forget. When you walk with people who pray with you, your armor becomes harder to break. With this armor in place, your spirit becomes steady, your thoughts clear, and your boundaries firm. The attacks may still come, but they will no longer find an open door. Remember, protection isn't something you do once, it's a way of life. Each day you put on your armor again through prayer, through discipline, through faith. The spiritual battlefield never sleeps, but neither does divine protection. After strengthening your defenses, another crucial step is learning how to sever toxic connections and cleanse your spiritual environment. Some bonds are not only emotional, they're energetic, spiritual, invisible. They tie you to what drains you. Breaking these ties is not about hatred or avoidance. It's an inner decision. It's declaring, I refuse to let this influence shape my soul any longer. To begin this process, identify who or what consistently leaves you anxious, doubtful, or spiritually exhausted. It could be a person, a habit, an environment, or even a recurring thought that pulls you away from peace. Once identified, engage in practices that restore your spiritual clarity. Prayers of deliverance, purification rituals like cleansing your home with salt or prayer, and affirmations that reinforce your divine identity and protection. Understand that places absorb energy just as hearts do. Keep your space bright, organized, and filled with symbols or words that remind you of divine peace. Detaching from harmful connections can feel painful. Guilt, fear, and sadness often appear. But this process isn't about rejection, it's about survival. It's choosing your calling and your inner light above anything or anyone that dims it. When you make that choice, you create room for what truly belongs to you: relationships, opportunities, and experiences aligned with your higher purpose. But the journey doesn't end there. The true challenge is maintaining this protection every single day. Spiritual defense isn't a one-time act, it's a daily rhythm of alignment and awareness. Start each morning not by checking your phone, but by centering your spirit. Offer gratitude, ask for guidance, and declare protection over your mind and heart. Let your first words be faith, not fear. Music that uplifts, verses that strengthen, and gratitude that grounds you. These are invisible shields that repel the dark energy of discouragement. Throughout the day, stay alert to your emotions. When you sense heaviness or confusion, pause, breathe, and pray. Realign before the storm grows. Gratitude is another silent weapon. It shifts your vibration from fear to faith, keeping your heart anchored in light. And never isolate yourself. Walk with a community that prays for you, believes in you, and reminds you of who you are when you forget. Consistency is the mark of true strength. The difference between those who rise spiritually and those who remain trapped in cycles of exhaustion is persistence. Even when tired, keep praying. Even when unsure, keep trusting. But there's one last key, perhaps the hardest, yet the most liberating: forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's a sacred form of release. It's the moment you decide that your soul deserves peace more than it deserves revenge. When you hold on to resentment, you stay tied to the very energy that hurt you. That bitterness becomes a bridge for darkness to re-enter. Forgiveness breaks that bridge. It is not forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt, it's saying, this no longer controls me. Forgiveness frees your heart from the weight of yesterday so that light can enter again. It's not always instant. Sometimes it begins as a whisper, acknowledging your pain, praying for strength, and allowing time to do its healing work. And don't forget to forgive yourself. Many chosen souls carry guilt for things they couldn't control, mistakes they made while still learning. Letting that go is just as important as forgiving others. When you release yourself, your energy rises, and your connection with the divine becomes pure again. By the time you've learned to identify the signs, build your armor, cut the toxic ties, maintain daily protection, and embrace forgiveness, you are no longer a victim. You are a warrior of light. You walk differently, speak differently, and radiate a peace that no darkness can mimic. Being chosen is not a burden, it's an invitation. You are called to be light in a world that desperately needs it. Challenges will come, but they only prove your strength, not your weakness. Remember, you are never alone. The Creator walks beside you, guarding, guiding, and empowering your every step. No shadow is stronger than your purpose. No voice louder than divine truth. Stand firm in faith, clothed in wisdom and anchored in love. Let your life be a lighthouse for others still trapped in the storm. Rise each morning knowing that your victory is not a question, it's a promise. If this message spoke to you, let your voice be heard. Like, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. Your testimony may be the light someone else needs today. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your armor ready, and your spirit bright.